Hi, it's Thursday for about one more minute, so I guess I'm going to be posting this on Friday morning, and you're watching Color Me Queer. That's how I feel about this week's topic. Okay. This week's topic is, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is the connection between gender, performance, identity, whatever, and sexuality? And I want to rephrase this question before I answer this question. Let me answer the question on a scale of 1 to 10, how do I think gender identity relates to insert anything here? 10. 10. 10. Everything you do is gendered. And if you do not think that what you are doing is gendered, that is because you are fitting into a prescribed gender role as you do it. The further outside of a prescribed gender role you are in your performance or your identity, the more you realize that nothing you do is not gendered. And that sucks. So hearing people say that there's not a connection, or that there's a negligible connection between sexuality and gender performance, just makes me go like, why? Why don't you see? Why don't you see that for people outside of those roles, this can be like the earthquake to your pretty San Francisco relationship? I'm from the East Coast. Okay. I need a book. 1 second. I hope you couldn't tell from that shot that I'm not wearing pants. Okay. Let me introduce you to the Bible. Gender Outlaw by Kate Bornstein. Kate Bornstein is an amazing woman. She says amazing things and she writes amazing things. Gender Outlaw is, I'm not sure her first book, it's basically her gender manifesto. And if you haven't read it, go. Stop watching this video, hit pause, go buy this book right here. One of the first chapters in this book is on sexuality and gender. I'm going to read to you because there's no way that I could say this like Kate says this. And before I start reading, when she says sex, she means the act. When she says gender, she means either naughty bits or identification. Usually she says biological gender when she means your parts, your assigned gender, and she says gender alone when she just means your identity. I'm going to read to you. Sexual orientation and preference is based in this culture solely on the gender of one's partner of choice. Not only do we confuse the two words, we make them dependent on one another. The only choices we're given to determine the focus of our sexual desire are these: heterosexual model, gay male model, lesbian model, bisexual model. Variants to these gender-based relationship dynamics would include heterosexual female with gay male with lesbian woman with heterosexual woman, ... People involved in these variants know that each dynamic is different from the other, ... What these variants have in common is that each of these combinations forms its own clearly recognizable dynamic, and none of these are acknowledged by the dominant cultural binary of sexual orientation, heterosexuality versus homosexuality. Despite the non-recognition of these dynamics by the broader culture, all these models depend on the gender of the partner. This results in minimizing, if not completely dismissing, other dynamic models of a relationship which could be more important than gender and are often more telling about the real nature of someone's desire. There are so many factors on which we could base sexual orientation. And then she talks about some stuff. And then she says, there are plenty of instances in which sexual attraction can have absolutely nothing to do with the gender of one's partner. Preference could also be based on the kind of sex acts one prefers. The conflation of sex and genders contributes to the linking together of the very different subcultures of gays, lesbians, bisexuals, leather sexers, sex workers, and the transgendered. We buy into categories of sexual orientation based solely on gender, heterosexual, homosexual, or bisexual, and we're cheating ourselves of a searching examination of our real sexual preferences. In the same fashion, by subscribing to the categories of gender based solely on the male-female binary, we cheat ourselves of a searching examination of our real gender identity. Okay, so that was a lot of words. But what this boils down to for me is that we define ourselves by the people who we want to be with. So, like, hypothetical situation. This isn't a hypothetical situation, this is my life. I meet a girl, we start dating, it's great and all. We date for a couple months, and I come to terms with the fact that I do not identify as a woman. I'm a female-bodied person, I'm not a trans person, but I don't identify as a woman. I identify as gender variant, I identify as genderqueer, I identify as a butch individual, I identify as a dyke, I identify as a lot of things, but none of them are man or woman. My girlfriend is a lesbian. What's a lesbian? A lesbian is a woman who loves women. By me altering my gender identity, the sexual preference of my girlfriend is called into question. And that's not right. And that shouldn't be considered acceptable in our culture. And the fact that so many people can say, I am this, because the person I love is this. Like, that so discounts all of the people who could never be loved by a straight person or a lesbian person because they are not of one gender. And beyond that, like, sex is a gendered act, no matter who is having it. Going on dates is gendered. It's just so complicated. Gender fucks up relationships, and it makes them confusing, and it makes them stop being about two people, and it makes them start being about two stereotypes, and it's hard, and it's complicated, and the two things are inextricable from each other, and until we take down this construct of gender and this idea that gender within our culture is a necessity, until we get rid of that, so many sexual identities are going to go without recognition, and so many relationships are going to go without recognition, and so many of the struggles within relationships are going to go without recognition, and that's not okay. And therefore, on a scale of 1 to 10, the relationship between sexuality and gender is 10. And that isn't okay. I'll see you guys next week.